Bienvenidos, fans of the hottest entertainment on the planet. Jaime and Fuego here, and we are about to commence the Oscars in less than 30 minutes, and even though I'm in the midst of some schoolwork, I wanted to give some impressions and predictions really quickly. I posted it in that print form, making you read, but let's just do a quick rundown of all of the major categories. I got to see every feature that was nominated. I didn't get to do the docs and the shorts, unfortunately. I didn't have access, didn't have time with Film and Media Studies at Arizona State, but so here we go, man. Original score, I'm going to go from 5 to 1. The Wild Robot, number 5, Wicked number 4, Emilia Perez number 3, Conclave number 2. Brutalist is my number 1 because of the fact that I really feel like the music of the, I guess, ethnic persuasion, from that particular part of Europe and everything, just really embodied the perseverance and also the struggles of Adrian Brody's character. Loved it. That is my number 1. I don't hate Emilia Perez as much as a lot of people, though, which is why when I look at original song, my number 5 is The Journey. It's the Journey! Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that movie on Netflix, which was from the 688. It was well-intentioned, but just poorly executed, unfortunately. Never Too Late from the Elton John documentary, man. I gotta say, I love the documentary. That song is one of the weakest I've ever heard from Elton, and I like a lot of his later stuff, like This Train Don't Stop Here Anymore. And my number 3 would be El Mal from Emilia Perez, and my number 2 is Mi Camino, because that silly song from Selena Gomez, I know the grammar is awful and it's been ripped to shreds by a lot of Latino people, but man, I have heard really awful grammar and pronunciation and stupid lyrics in a lot of English songs too, so that silliness has been stuck in my head for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I actually am kind of an Emilia Perez defender, not for it to be Best Picture or anything, and then my number 1 is the Like a Bird song from Sing Sing. This is one that I thought was going to get a lot more love from the Academy, and unfortunately, it did not, which was kind of a bummer. So as we jump up to our next little slew of categories, this is all the technical shizzle. So we have Best Visual Effects. So number 5 is Wicked. Number 4 is Alien Romulus. Number 3 is Better Man, which I really urge people to go see. I didn't really know much about Robbie Williams aside from the rock DJ stuff, but man, I really enjoyed that film. And my number 2 is Dune Part 2. And my number 1, and maybe kind of a surprise, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I didn't really watch the Caesar trilogy in earnestness, I guess, but the effects in this new one, the mocap and everything, with Kevin Durant and everything, it was just tremendous stuff. So then we get to Best Sound. My number 5 is A Complete Unknown. Number 4 is The Wild Robot. Number 3, Wicked. Number 2, Emilia Perez. And number 1, Dune Part 2. Just the sound design in this film is crazy. I'm disappointed. I don't think this is going to get much love aside from the technical categories. And if you can't tell already, I'm not a big fan of A Complete Unknown. All right, so let's jump to another tech category, makeup and hairstyling. Number 5, Emilia Perez. Number 4, A Different Man, which I was very happy to see that Sebastian Stan film get a nomination. I thought that was kind of cool. Number 3, Wicked. Number 2, Nosferatu. And my number 1, The Substance. I really dig The Substance. I'll be able to talk about it a little bit more later. But, it definitely deserves this nomination. I don't know about Best Picture or anything, but, art is subjective, right? So, definitely, especially when they start getting Demi in the makeup later in the movie, man, it's just awesome. Next up, Best Editing. Number 5, I have Wicked. Number 4, I have Emilia Perez. Number 3, Anora. Number 2, The Brutalist. And number 1, Conclave, because just cutting amongst all of the different conniving and factioning and intrigue and everything like that, I feel like that film most definitely, it's really it's a coin flip between Brutalist and Conclave for me, as it is in a few of the other bigger categories. Next up, we have Best Cinematography. For me, Maria, the Netflix movie with Angelina Jolie. This was Oscar bait, so desperately trying with her playing the famous opera singer and everything. It's a pretty bad movie, unfortunately. It was nice to look at, so I can see why it got this one and only nomination. Number 4, Emilia Perez. Number 3, Nosferatu. Number 2, Dune Part 2. And number 1, Best Cinematography, The Brutalist. And a lot of people may be like, wow, over Dune Part 2. Well, man, if you have seen The Brutalist, most notably, one of the scenes I absolutely love is where they go to tour this place in, I believe it was Italy, where they were trying to get these particular stones or whatever for this structure that they're building. Incredible. And there's so many different scenes like that throughout this film, like his arrival in America. I could gush and gush and gush Next up, we have Best Costume Design. Number 5, A Complete Unknown. Number 4, Gladiator 2. Number 3, Nosferatu. Number 2, Conclave. And number 1, Wicked. This is a tough category for me when I know that they're recreating things that have already been done. Like Conclave, they know what these Catholic peeps who are in the higher up, how they dress and their attire and everything. So it is a recreationary sort of thing. And even though I gave my number 1 to Wicked, I still did it a little haphazardly because of the fact that, this is a situation where you're recreating something that's already been done on stage. And I know they made it a little more bombastic and a little more augmented and all of that stuff. So I give it to Wicked. I enjoyed Wicked a lot more than I anticipated, having never seen the stage show or anything like that. But I had a lot of friends whose opinions I greatly respect that spoke very highly of it. And so, Wicked is my vote for costume design. Next up, we have production design. So best production design, number 5, The Brutalist, which may surprise some people. Number 4, Conclave. Number 3, Nosferatu. Number 2, Wicked. And number 1, Dune Part 2. And that's because, if we're going to talk about creating an other world, like just a completely different reality of sorts, the production design for the Dune sequel is beyond majestic, beyond epic. It is an incredible looking film. I know the set design and everything, production design was a big thing for The Brutalist. It is a film about architecture, obviously. Same with Conclave, same with Nosferatu, Wicked. This is actually one of the more stacked categories where I think it could go to any of these 5 films, and I say that with a complete, just earnest honesty. Next up, this is another one that is going to be it's one of my most anticipated just to see how it actually goes. So, Best International Feature. Number 5, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, and I did see all of these movies. Number 4, The Girl with the Needle. Number 3, Emilia Perez. Number 2, Flow. And as much as I love Flow, and I am just rooting for it for that Best Animated Feature, I'm going to go with I'm Still Here, the Brazilian film. I adored this movie. The recreation of the time period was tremendous. Fernanda Torres is so good. The entire cast, the kids and everything, and just the interaction amongst all of them. I love this movie. I'd be happy if it went to Flow, though, and maybe, out of left field, we could have Emilia Perez have some sort of redemption and win Best International Feature. I don't think it necessarily deserves to over the other 2 films. And as far as Seed of the Sacred Fig and The Girl with the Needle, Seed of the Sacred Fig is a very important film because of the subject matter of just looking at the suppression of women's rights in Iran. It was a film that was made in secret. I was very impressed with this movie, but in comparison with something like The Brutalist, that didn't feel its runtime, for me at least. This film most definitely did, but the performances were great. And then Girl with the Needle is a period piece right after the First World War, and it's got some dark comedic aspects to it at times as well. It's a thriller. It's very sad and dramatic about this woman who has her husband go missing during the First World War, and then she ends up getting impregnated by the guy who runs the factory that she works at, and then she ends up kind of friending up with this woman who has a children's racket, is all that I really want to say, and it gets really dark. It's a great movie, but it is lower in the listing here. So now let's get to, I guess, what would probably be considered some of the heaviest hitters. Animated feature, though, my number 5 is Inside Out 2, although I did really like Inside Out 2, maybe even more than the first one to some degree. Number 4, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. This movie was cute. I've always liked Wallace and Gromit, and just the claymation style, stop motion. They're just endearing characters. It's a really cute movie. It's on Netflix here in the States, at least, but it didn't blow me away or anything like that, but I had a lot of fun with it. It was cool. It was cute. Next up, the one that everybody seems to think is going to take it, and I would be really disappointed if it did. Number 3, The Wild Robot. I liked The Wild Robot, okay? I thought Lupita Nyong'o's delivery and how it starts out so stoic and so robotic, as per her character, obviously, but then as the emotions from the altered programming or whatever starts to creep in, I think maybe this film would have hit me harder if I was a parent, of which I'm not. And so, that's something to keep in mind. Number 2 is the one that I don't think really anybody saw. I saw it in theaters. I loved it. Memoir of a Snail. I'm trying to remember if it's New Zealand or Australia. I know it's by way of one of those, but this is another stop motion sort of situation, and this is the only R-rated film on here. It deals with some pretty heavy topics, as far as familial loss, depression, getting involved with the wrong people. This is definitely a very adult animated film, and I loved it, and I wish that more people had actually seen it. I'm happy it got nominated, but even though it's my number 2, I don't think it has a snowball's chance. But what I am rooting for hardcore is Flow. It's independently made film about a cat. There's no dialogue. It has some really almost psychedelic spiritual sort of aspects to it. I saw this in theaters. I loved it. I saw it months ago when it was on limited run before it really started to gain some steam and win some awards. So I feel pretty happy that I was ahead of the curve with that. But Flow is awesome. You can watch it on HBO Max right now, or Max, whatever they call it. Next up, we have adapted screenplay. At number 5, A Complete Unknown. Number 4, Nickel Boys, which I really did like a lot. I was late to the party on getting to see it because it was just in such limited access for a lot of us. Number 3, Amelia Perez, which I am a defender of that movie. I don't think it's amazing or anything, but I did really like Amelia Perez, actually. Number 2, Sing Sing. The release schedule of this was just messed up so hardcore. I saw it when it was limited, like during the summer. And then they finally started to expand it. I had to drive like way across town to check it out. Coleman Domingo was so good in this movie. And it's, based on a true story, obviously, about, just doing theatrical production in prison. And it's heartwarming, it's endearing. It also has that very bittersweet melancholy that I love so much in storytelling. So yeah, I think this might have a chance, but a lot of people are thinking it's going to go to what is my number 1, which is Conclave. I never thought that the follow-up from the remake director of All Quiet on the Western Front was going to make, the papal ascendancy in a PG film interesting, and I was captivated. I know it's not for everybody, definitely not for everybody, as I found out when somebody I know watched it just recently. They didn't like it at all. Thought it was boring. So it's not for everybody, but I was captivated. I thought Conclave, that's my number 1. Next up, we have Best Original Screenplay. Okay, so not based on pre-existing stuff, a book or whatever. My number 5 is Anora. That's another one that I'm just not on the Anora train. I love Baker, man. His previous stuff like Red Rocket, which I think is so great, man. Florida Project, which has some more endearing aspects. Tangerine. I love his body of work. This is one of my least favorites that he's ever done, and I also think it's like the most mainstream thing he's ever done too, which is probably why so many people love it so much. Anyway, number 4, A Real Pain. This is perhaps what people are considering a dark horse to win, but I was a little underwhelmed by A Real Pain despite the poignancy of the subject matter. I liked it, but I didn't love it, and it's another one of those subjectivity of art things where you're just like, I get everybody loves this, but I personally don't, so whatever. Number 3, The Substance. Number 2, another film that I feel was done so dirty with its release schedule, September 5. I thought this was going to be like a perennial powerhouse as far as contention at the Oscars. Nope, no dice, y'all. I'm really sad that it just didn't get all the love. The release was like bounced around, and this film is exceptional. It's on Paramount Plus right now to stream. I hope more people get the chance to check it out because it's so damn good. But my number 1 for Best Original Screenplay is The Brutalist. This film did so much with so little. The storytelling was captivating, didn't feel its 3.5-hour runtime. I do believe that peppering in the intermission was a wise idea because maybe since I got to stand up, use the facilities, refill my beverage and all that, I don't know. I just love this movie, and you'll probably see why here in just a few minutes. Best Supporting Actress, number 5, Isabella Rossellini, Conclave. She's in last place, not because of her performance, but because she's barely in this movie, in my estimation at least. Number 4, Ariana Grande for Wicked. She was a lot better in this movie than I ever would have guessed her to be. She's pretty good, man. She was charming. She's cute. She had good comedic timing, but I don't know. I think the other 3 women, like Zoe Saldana, which is my number 3 for Amelia Perez, who is the big-time favorite. Number 2, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist. But I can't give her the number 1 because she doesn't show up till the second half of the movie. And this is probably one of the bigger ones where I am really rooting for a big-time upset. Because Monica Barbaro, A Complete Unknown. I've already kind of trashed on that movie a little bit here. And that's because her performance as Joan Baez in this film, I had no idea Joan Baez was in this movie. And I love Joan Baez and her music. So maybe I have that kind of slanted perspective. I respect Bob Dylan, but I can't say I like him very much, and Chalamet does not make him particularly likable. And at least for me, Monica Barbaro, with her performance as Joan Baez, really embodies the person who can kind of see through his schmuckery, despite all of his talents, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm really rooting for her in this one, man. I genuinely am. Let's get to these last couple categories, shall we? Best Supporting Actor. My number 5, Ed Norton, a complete unknown. I'm not going to say anymore. Yura Borisov for Anora. A lot of people thought that one of the other supporting guys from the little crew that's going after Mikey Madison's character should have got this nomination, but Yura got it. He's okay, I guess. Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice, which I'm surprised that this film got as much love as it did. I really liked it, but I didn't think with El Presidente and a lot of Hollywood's feelings about him had a snowball's chance in hell. But, Jeremy Strong is really good in this movie. I'm flip-flopping with my 1 and my 2. I guess number 2, I will go Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, and number 1, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain. Everybody thinks Kieran Culkin's going to win, and I think it's his award to lose. I mean, he's won pretty much every single award for this throughout the entire circuit. But Guy Pearce, man, just the weird complexity of his character and how you can analyze and scrutinize him as a person, I don't know. But yeah, it's probably going to go to Kieran. And even though I really would like to see Guy Pearce pull an upset here too, but it's probably not going to happen. In fact, I don't think there's a chance. Next up, Best Actress, Cynthia Erivo. Man, ever since Bad Times at the El Royale, I've been a big fan of hers. This is her nomination for Wicked. I don't know why she's here. Personally, I think that there are a lot of better performances, but I'm not going to get into it and split hairs or anything like that. She's good in the movie, but I mean, I even put Mikey Madison in Anora at number 4 ahead of her. I put Carla Sofia Gascon from Emilia Perez, who I thought that was a really good performance. Now, unfortunately, she shot herself in the foot many years ago, and you know how, people like to dig up those skeletons in the closet, all that dirt. So, so she's my number 3. Fernanda Torres, I'm still here. I think she should win. She's my number 2. She's not going to win. I think this is, a lot of people think it's going to go to the Anora girl, but I think Demi for The Substance is going to get it because of just her the Legacy Award, I guess, in a lot of ways, and all of the love for this film that still surprises me in a lot of ways. I can't believe The Substance had this swell of popularity that it has. It just blows my freaking mind, guys. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mikey Madison takes it. But I think that since she still has so much more of a career ahead of her, the thing with Demi Moore in this role, though, is that I think in some ways it is kind of a dual lead almost with Quigley, and she didn't even get nominated, so neither here nor there. Now let's jump to Best Actor, because I realize I've already gone on for almost 20 minutes here. Who the hell is going to have the time to watch this in the middle of the ceremony? Nobody, but this is for personal, just kind of documentation, I suppose. Best Actor, number 5, Timothée Chalamet, a complete unknown. Number 4, Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. I'm happy he got nominated. Sebastian Stan's awesome. I mean, fresh, the different man. I thought he was really good in that too, playing Trumpy Poo in this one. Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing. He was so good in this, man. But unfortunately, he's nominated the same year that you have Ralph Fiennes in Conclave, who's my number 2. And Adrian Brody, The Brutalist. I think he's getting it for sure. That is my number 1 for Best Actor. Rounding it out, Best Director, James Mangold, A Complete Unknown, number 5. Why he gets a nomination over Denny for Dune 2, I don't know. Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez. That's my number 4. I'm not going to talk anymore about that movie because I know all the controversy. Sean Baker is my number 3 for Anora. Coralie for Jules for The Substance is my number 2. But I really think Brady Corbet for The Brutalist is going to take it down. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's Baker or Coralie. It's a high possibility. And then last, but certainly not least, Best Picture. No. So, counting it down, my number 10 is A Complete Unknown. Number 9, Wicked. Number 8, Anora. Number 7, Nickel Boys. Number 6, Emilia Perez. Number 5, The Substance. Number 4, Dune Part 2. Number 3, I'm Still Here. Number 2, Conclave. And number 1, The Brutalist. I've spoken at length about this movie already. I adore it. It didn't feel its runtime. I was so engaged, even in the second half, which is significantly more controversial for a lot of people. I really enjoy the second half of this movie. Conclave, I could see it going to either one of these two. I'm Still Here is exceptional. I'd be happy if that won. I'd be happy if Dune Part 2 won. I'm not going to get up in arms if The Substance wins, even though I don't think it has a chance at all, just with the way things go with the Oscars. I don't think, and maybe Anora wins it. That's a high probability because it did win at, I'm trying to remember if it was SAG or the Independent Spirit Awards. But so Anora has that possibility as well. But for my money, The Brutalist. It's not my favorite movie of the year, but in my estimation, it is the best of these 10 nominations. Gracias, everybody, for checking this out, when and if you ever do. And yeah, once again, this is for me more so than anything else, just to get some of these thoughts out and get it up on the interweb. So happy viewing, everybody. Adios.